Anybody out there don't have a cell phone? I mean, every one of us have cell phones and pretty. Ooh, look at that! It shows. Ooh, shows through, don't it? You like the new background? We'll talk about that later. Everybody's got a cell phone, and I mean, think what is it? Probably 90% of everybody, especially in the States, has a has a smartphone, has, one of them real thin things there with that. If I put that over there, then we're just reflecting everything. Cell phones. Hi, my name is Mark David Smith, and you're watching The Compass of kraM. On our cell phones, whether this is an iPhone, what I can't even, oh, look at that, my baby up there. With this new background, it's kind of hard to do stuff like this, but we all know what apps are, APP apostrophe S's. We all know what an app is. We have different apps, and usually, I think all phones, whether Androids and I think that's an interesting name for a phone. I every time I hear the word Android, that's a robot to me. I mean, Data was an android on Star Trek, and so you have a phone. I'm carrying around a robot in my pocket, and anyway, I like the iPhones. Had Android for a while, and it was okay. Just a little cheesy to me, and I like the professionalness. I don't like Macs when it comes to computers. I just don't care for them, but I'm not using them. My first computer was actually a Macintosh and a Mac, and then I went to PC and never went back. Okay, so we have apps on our phone, and now basically that's what they're calling things on your computer, because as the millennials, who are the ones who create the technology of today, pretty basically. I'm 65. As much as I dislike millennials, I don't, I mean, they're okay. My daughter's a millennial. I love her. Hey, she's great. But as they create the technology of today, you don't have a say. Yeah, I mean, on your computer anymore, unless you pay, extra money to get the professional version of like Windows 10. It's going to update when it's going to update. You really don't have a whole lot to say about it, that type of thing. But when it comes down to a phone, same thing. It's going to update when it's going to update. Not a whole lot you can do. Every time my phone or computer updates, it literally it changes things. Sometimes a little bit, sometimes a lot. Sometimes I get on my computer, it's updated. Practically the whole thing is defunct. Anyway, so let me morph what I'm talking about here into another subject here. What we got going? What if you had an app on your phone that told you when you were going to die? Now, we know that's, I mean, come on, we're religious people. I mean, most every one of us that are watching this are basically religious people, I guess. But what if you had an app that, and there's a movie out now called Countdown. It's brand new. I haven't seen it. It's out on, I can watch it on, I can get it on Redbox and watch it. But I watched the preview to it yesterday, day before, something like that, because it looked intriguing. And it's like, I probably won't watch it. It is a horror movie, and I'm not into horror movies. Y'all know I watch a lot of movies. I own a lot of movies. I like classics. I like, good movies that make you think. This one don't make you think. This makes you scream. Not into those so much. So I probably won't watch it, but I thought the format of the movie was interesting in that it gives you, and I guess it messes with the people and controls them, and no matter what, you try to get rid of your phone and get rid of the app and everything, and it doesn't get rid of, because it's a horror movie, so anyway, but I thought that it got me thinking. I've never thought along the lines of what if I knew when I was going to die? Sometimes patients, people that get diseases, they somebody will tell them, the doctors tell them, oh, you only have so long to live, or you're going to die in 3 months or a month or next week or whatever like that. Most of us, we don't have that put on us, so we don't think about that. So we don't think about that. And so this yesterday got me to thinking about that. We do every once in a while, we'll see something like a show that people are dying on, or we know somebody that has cancer and they've got so long to live, and it kind of passes through our minds. Man, that's rough. What would I do in that time? How would I think? Would my whole life change in what I think? So I thought I would throw that out there, and I noticed John Craig's in with me. He'll join me here in a few minutes after I get past a couple of things, and maybe we'll ask his opinion on that, because I love John's opinion on things. And so how about we start the show?
I like to teach the world to sing. Sing with me.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside.
Okay, so I got my sunglasses on because my future is so bright that I need sunglasses to see through my future. But, we don't want my sunglasses on. So let me take my... Oh, wait, hold up. I just took my sunglasses off. Oh, what's this? I still have sunglasses on? What's this? Oh, let me take these on so I can see. Oh, what is this? I still have sunglasses on. Oh, no. Let me take these off. I got sunglasses on. No. Oh, no. I still have sunglasses on. Oh, whoa. Must be in a horror movie or something. No, let me just put these on there. Oh, I love to play with your head. I love to, let me perfect that one. That one's fun. I kind of like that one. I'm going to put something together and play with that. Good morning, good day to everybody. So, okay, we're losing people. Okay, I'm different. If you didn't know what kind of show this was before you came in, sorry. But anyway, this show's a little off. And look at this. You like my new background? We're now able to do green screens. Can you tell what this says? Maybe I'll just move from side to side the whole show like this, and that way you can read what's in there. Maybe I could put like a railroad track on my floor in here and a motor on it that will send me back and forth like that. That way you can read the background. Come on, you know what the background says. But hey, I think it's pretty cool with the green screen now. I can put back there anything I want. I've only played with it slightly for a little bit, but I did notice that it kind of messes with with things a little bit. Now, see if I take this off. I got a hole in my head, and I don't know. I don't like the hole in my head. I already got several up there anyway. I don't need any more. So put the hat on. I think it's the light deal. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Get it perfected. StreamYard will have to perfect it, I guess. But thank you all for joining us. I mean, even if you are here and not here, then you'll watch the archives. Hey, archival type people. I know a lot of people can't be here during this point in time, and we do make up a lot of segments for our shows, different shows, and you can watch them in a little different format and shorter versions instead of an hour and 15 minutes. Yesterday on the Chameleon Show, Rabbi Daryl Weinberg usually joins Alan of Wire, and I'm on there usually, as long as Alan has a format where we can be on there. And we were talking about I'm gonna bring John in on that. I'm gonna bring John in on this anyway. What's up, Leroy? What be going down, man? Hey, John, you do speak jive, right?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
You speak jive, right?
No.
You don't?
No.
So if I said, hey, man, what be going down with you, old funky Seth? You wouldn't know what that meant?
I think about the song, play that funky music, white boy.
Yeah, well, it would be
play
me.
That funky music, white. Okay, play right
that
or whatever.
Would be me, but
yeah.
So you don't understand any of the jargon.
I can. I have certain abilities, like spidey senses, and I can kind of figure things out.
Okay. Yeah, I know. You just kind of have to, like I said, what be going down with the old funky Seth? You would know that means what's happening. How are you doing? How's things going in your life?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd know
that's
that.
right. Yeah, because I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and so I can understand that a little bit. Yeah. Hey,
how you like the new green screen back there?
Well, I think that's really awesome. I think that looks really cool. Do you like my green screen? It looks like a living room.
Now you see, I have always said you guys are that is your green screen there. So now let's do this. And what do you think of this?
Whoa, check that out. You really have a nice house. That's
nice. We do. I've done a lot of remodeling. We just bought the piano yesterday and brought it in. We already had the stool over here, but we didn't have the piano. So since we had the piano, we had to buy we already had the stool, we had to buy the piano.
That's nice.
But
it's amazing what you can do with a tiny house.
Well, it's not the tiny house. This is our single wide. That came with the property when we bought it.
Right. So, you've really done some work on the place.
I got a ways to go, brother. I got a ways to go. So anyway.
Hey, so Mark, I have a question for you, and I have to say this. You had a great segment last week on Flat Earth. And I want to call attention to that because on the Messianic Lamb Network, you even brought that out in a special segment.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And it was great. And when I got on and I went back and looked at it, do you know you got 3 thumbs down?
No way.
Yeah.
I did not look at that.
Yeah.
On YouTube, there were 3 thumbs down.
And so
wow.
I don't understand that, but because do flat earthers not have a sense of humor? That was hilarious.
No. Anti-Trumpers don't have a sense of humor either.
Yeah, that's true. Well, hey, I found on you were talking about apps earlier. So
Oh,
right
cool.
here, I don't know if you can see that. You can get a flat Earth app. A
You
flat
can get
Earth
a flat Earth.
Yeah. See how flat that is? Right. And that'll help remind you when truth starts to kind of tickle back into your spidey senses and saying it's round. Then you say, no, I have the app.
Very cool. I like it. Yep. That works. I like it.
Yeah.
But
And that way you'll always know when that sun's going to, I don't know how it comes up in the morning, but it sure, and I never could figure out on the flat Earth if it's coming from the east and it's going to the west and it's only 25 miles wide or 25 miles up or in the air. I don't know how they say it, but then it gets dark, because it gets further away. But how does it come back around to the east again?
Well,
does it go under the earth and pop back up real quick?
No. Wait, no, John, you didn't. You see, you saw the segment and then you even saw the video, but you just didn't get it. See, it doesn't just it spins. The Earth, they didn't say the Earth don't spin. The Earth spins, but it spins and randomly, like throughout the universe like this, and it's constantly going like that.
Okay, all right.
There you go.
So what happens? Okay, and I get that because you were talking about how one side has like certain like North America, South America.
You're right.
And then on the other side was like Israel, and
that's
and
right.
Then, but they drilled through there.
Right. Well, no. There's a movie out there. There's an old movie where they actually just they drilled through the middle of it like that right there. See.
Yeah.
And then what they did is they run elevators through it. From what I understand, the one world government is working on this right now.
Oh. And so if you fall into that elevator shaft, do you pop out the other side, or do you just kind of start?
There's no way you can throw. You can't fall through that. There's too much. There's way too much security and stuff, so you can't. Yeah.
Oh yeah, those security checkpoints.
Right now, they're keeping it all in a plastic container. As they're working on all of that, and so our weather system is a little bit off. But, yeah.
I get it, and that's what's doing that, and you can't fall because we're buoyant.
Buoyant, that's it. That's good. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Okay, so we're not really. It's not possible to fall due to buoyancy.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you started to fall through when you hit the center Earth, you'd fall back out.
Well, you don't really even fall. It's kind of like it's almost like being in one of those great big air machines, where you go in there and you just kind of. It's almost like you're doing skydiving or something. You're just like, and then you just kind of bounce there.
Oh, okay.
That's how it works. I mean, I haven't experienced it, but I'm pretty. It's like you and understanding jive. You just know this is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, I like it very much. That's very cool. Anyway, it's good to have you on, John Craig. Appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here.
John Craig does a bunch of shows. Sandy usually lifts those off. If I want to sit here and go half the show and use half my show, I could probably tell everybody what shows you're on, but you just kind of have to look at it. And that's a good segment to know. Thank you very much for bringing all of that up, because I'm going to take this time right now to share my screen and show everybody the website. Because every week on the show, I like to let people see what's going on the website. For some reason, look at that. See that compass spinning? Ain't that just cool?
That's right.
Look at all these guys. Look, there's John Craig right there. That's pretty cool. This is we got a slider on the top here that kind of goes from one to the next. But John was talking about the here we go, the flat Earth thing. If you'll go down on that first page, you'll see looking for something to watch. You got the Wednesday. All the different shows that are on today. And if you click on those and they've already played, you'll see the actual show. Yeah, like these two have not played yet. Those two will be, you'll see a picture there and tells you how long until that show starts. And then underneath there, we have special selections. These up here are in the future. All these down here, you just click on them, and there you are. A couple of them we had last week, like a day's wages for a payday, flat Earth, kosher pork, and cloning. And look at this, all these different stuff. John Craig has some Four Corner News in there, homeschooling. We got all kinds of stuff. It's seriously, if you're tired of watching Netflix, just go on over there and you can see all that kind of stuff. Another thing you could do is you could hit, if you don't know about a show, you want to find out what's going on with that show, click on show information, pops you over to this, and look at this. You got a list of every show that broadcasts on the Lamb Network. And for instance, this one right here, it has its own page. You click on that and it takes you over here, and pretty quickly those will pop up. This is a game we played a couple of weeks ago, Levels of Sin. What we talked about, can pork be made kosher? Can cork be made kosher? No, that's not what it is. So I've listed also the topics that eventually, after 3 years, it'll take, if we did one per episode, it'll take us 3 years to go through all my topics, John. 3 years. So that means that I have to have this show going every week for 3 years to be able to go through all them topics. So there you go. That's the website stuff for this week. And so if you ever been to a men's prayer breakfast, John, this is why I wanted to bring you in, that I got all distracted and stuff.
Yes.
Ask you this question. Have you been to more than one?
I have.
Now, yesterday, I started off by telling everybody that Daryl and I are on the Communion Church show, and we had a great show yesterday. We talked about why is it that the children who have been raised in Messianic families are falling away, and also Daryl started it off with, like men of the Bible were big men of God, but their children fell away from the Lord, and why is that? And we talked briefly about that during the show yesterday. But one of the statements that Daryl made about men's prayer breakfast, and why men's prayer breakfast feed into all this, I don't remember exactly what got us there, but I loved his quote, and this is a quote unquote from Rabbi Daryl Weinberg about men's prayer breakfast. Is basically his description of them is all bacon, no God.
Uh, all right.
I thought that was good for a laugh
That's
anyway.
that's
You know.
that's good. That's good. You
Uh,
know, they
you
used
know,
to be very popular too. Like back in the 80s, very popular. And then the 90s and the 2000s came and
kind of bad.
not so popular anymore.
Yeah, when I was part of the Lion and Lamb, we used to have them on a monthly basis, pretty regular. It
Yeah.
was good. It was a great thing to get together um, to prepare the breakfast. In other
Yeah.
words, we would different ones of us would volunteer to come in, and we go in the kitchen and we would come up with our own recipes on what we were going to have for that week and make up the breakfast for all the men that were going to come and serve it to them. And I love that part, man. The camaraderie there of cooking is always awesome. It's
Yeah.
really good. One of the things I remember so well is Monty Judah, our rabbi, he'd come in to volunteer to cook. The man, and I've seen other people do this, and you could probably do it, but I could never do it, is how he could break an egg with one hand and separate the yolk from the shell, or the insides from the shell, and do one after the other. Throw the shell away, get another one, break it, throw it away, do one after the other. And I couldn't do one. I was blown. Can you do that?
I can't do that. No, I've tried it. I drop the shell. I get shell fragments in my eggs.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to fish out those fragments out of the eggs, and it's a lot
Yeah.
faster to use two hands for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, it's but I remember those. So prayer breakfasts are great. I always loved them. But yeah, I'll agree. There were quite a few before the Messianic days that were all bacon, no God.
Well, and we had pork sausage too,
Yeah, yeah.
bacon and pork, and yeah, yeah. It was. But you know what? But back then we didn't know that you could have synthetic pork and make it clean.
Synthetic pork and
Yeah,
make it clean. Oh,
yeah, like we talked about last week.
yeah, I know. Yeah, that was and there's even a little segment we cut out on that, but I think we decided that's just not possible. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Pork is pork no matter what you do. It's pork.
It's still pork.
It's still pork. Now you could probably, and I know we already talked about this, but if you got the right rabbis and had the right amount of cash, you could probably get that kosher stamped on there. From what I understand, there are products out there that really aren't kosher, but they have the kosher stamp on it. And I mean, nobody's. I'm probably getting into something that I'm probably going to get sued for here by these rabbis. But this is what I've heard. I'm not saying that this is what it is, but this is what I've heard is that some rabbis will take a little cash under the table and stamp it kosher.
Well, you can always make the word say whatever you want it to say.
You can always make the food product label say what you want to say.
Yeah, it's a point, click, delete, whatever you want.
That's it. All right, everybody.
So there's probably an app for that too.
Oh, there's an app for that. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm with you. You are watching the Compass of kraM. I am kraM, and this over here is John Craig. You see, I've learned how this works. If if I think it's one way, I'll just do it the other way, and it's right.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
it seems like you're over here, but I know you're over there. So if I point that way, I've learned. So anyway,
When I'm looking at, see, I'm actually looking at you, Mark.
I know, and I see. I'm looking
Mark.
at you. Oh, well, you know, I mean, I'm not looking at you, but I don't know if I do that right there. What? Oh, hey.
Sorry, that's my second voice.
Oh, okay.
My voice. No,
I thought maybe.
My granddaughter is riding on the back of Miss Sandy.
Oh, on the back.
She's falling. She's falling. Oh, she fell. Okay. Uh-oh. She fell and took Sandy's ear with her.
I thought maybe you had trained the raccoons to talk.
No. Nope.
All right.
So anyway, they're taking a little trip. Sandy's
Take a little trip.
yeah,
Take
Sandy's the horse.
Take a little trip with me. All right. Going back to the classic.
I don't know if you heard that. She just said hi.
Oh, hi. Well, hello. Hello.
Do you say hi, Mark? No. Say hi, kraM?
Nope.
No? Okay.
She's already like you and Sandy, a mind of her own. So,
yeah.
Yep, that's good. All right. Very good. Okay. Well, here's something I think you're gonna like, Mr. Craig. I have decided that I'm going to start doing a segment on the show. Let me I'm going to mute you if you don't mind. So that I'm going to start doing a segment on the show. I got this little book, and I love this little book. And so I'm going to, oh, look at that. If it's black, it's going to be see-through. I guess you can't see it, so I can't show it. The Constitution of the United States. And so I have decided that for a segment of my show every week, I'm going to go through this book and segments of the book. And by the time I'm done, I will have read the entire Constitution of the United States. And with the Declaration of Independence, it says here. And so I want to start off. I probably won't get to it this week, but what I would like to do is a little bit of the foreword of this book, which has a lot to say, and it has a lot of quotes that I would like to read, and then John and I will talk about that briefly. This is right in the front cover of the book. I don't know if you can see that or not, but this is the little book. And anyway, this is right inside the front cover. And once again, I'm going to kind of do a little preface to this by reading some of the first parts here. This is a quote from George Washington. It says, "The power under the Constitution will always be in the people. It is entrusted for certain defined purposes and for a certain limited period to representatives of their own choosing, and whoever it is executed contrary to their interest or not agreeable to their wishes, their servants can and undoubtedly will be recalled." That is a quote by George Washington. Here's a quote by Thomas Jefferson. "On every question of construction, let us carry ourselves back to the time when the Constitution was adopted. Recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying what meaning may be squeezed out of the text or invented against it, conform to the probable one in which it was passed." John, let me bring you in here. I'm gonna unmute you there, and if you would like to come in and comment on these, I would love for you to do that. Now, here's a quote.
Well, right there, I just want to comment just what.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Who was that last one? Was that Madison?
The last one was Thomas Jefferson.
Jefferson. Okay. Yeah. Original intent. And
yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, it's really important because that's what we've not done in our country, where they've said, well, the Constitution's a living document. No, it's not. And that's really for the uneducated to say, oh, okay. No, it's not a living document. It was established at the beginning. And I like the quote, the fact that they said, no, we've had all these arguments when we were trying to write this thing up. And if you really want to know the spirit of what we were trying to say, go back and read the transcripts. I mean, essentially, that's what he's saying. Go back and read those original documents so you can know where we were coming from, what we were facing, what we were dealing. Because honestly, he's saying history repeats itself. And really, there's nothing new under the sun. So it's always good. Go back to the beginning. It's the same reason, as we study scripture, if you want to understand it, you go to the beginning. You find out the first mentions, you find out what's been laid down before and the wisdom that comes from that. And then therefore, when you get so many years away, you still can stay on the path, unless you want to completely throw the Constitution out, write up a new one. And in our day, I don't think we've got even the intelligence within Congress or even in the laws, lawyers or whomever would try to write these things in those big think tanks. I don't think we have the intelligence like they had back in the original Constitution. So
I was just looking over also George Washington, the first one I read. It is entrusted for certain defined purposes and for a certain limited period to representatives of their own choosing. And whenever it is executed contrary to their interest or not agreeable to their wishes, their servants can and undoubtedly will be recalled. So in other words, you go back and look at, like you were saying, at what was originally written, and that's their intent. So I like that.
Well, and then also is that those representatives are our servants. It's we the people are the government.
We pay them. That's right. They're paid by our taxes.
Yeah. So why would they? We see Joe Biden getting up there and he's doing his campaign stump and he's giving his speeches, and people will stand up and say, look, you've committed fraud or you've been doing this, and I don't agree with that. And what's he do? He tries to shout them down saying, I'm the elite. I know better than you. Go sit down. And then he says something like, yeah, and let's do push-ups.
With you.
But come on. That's number one reason why Joe Biden, besides a number of other things, would not ever make a good president, because he thinks he's better than all of us. And wait a minute, you're a representative, whether president, whether vice president, whether senator or congressman, Joe Biden, you were not put in that position to rule over, but to serve us. And that's what's coming out. Think about how what's been exposed now in the Bernie Sanders campaigns, how in the undercover workings of Project Veritas, they've gotten these guys they're managers in Iowa, and also there, I think it was in North Carolina, where they're coming out. Yeah, we're going to take power and we're going to bring out send people to gulags that don't agree with us, and we'll bring out the guillotines if they can't be reformed and re-educated. Wait a minute. And they're trying to say this is all under the Constitution of the United States. If you're going to do that, then you will say this Constitution is null and void, because that is tyranny. And this is the whole point about what the founding fathers have said. Who was that other candidate running for president from Texas? Oh yeah, O'Rourke. He calls himself Beto or O'Rourke. He made up a Spanish name for himself because he's completely Irish, but he's completely non-American, in my opinion, because he says, oh yeah, we're coming after your AR-15s. And no, you're not. because we have every right. So anyway, if you're going to be my representative, then represent me according to these original intents.
I'm with you. That's very good. I'm going to read one more, and we'll talk about that real quick, and then I'm going to get into the last part of the show here. This is from the Federalist, number 51, Essays by Alexander Hamilton, John Kay, and James Madison. It says, if angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. In framing or a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place oblige it to control itself. And I think that's interesting, that if angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. But we don't have angels. We don't even basically have God in the government, period. Better yet, angels, to govern men. So I thought that was real interesting too. So.
Yeah, you know what? That's why we have a Second Amendment. In all reality, because when those people go to Congress, they're not angels. And so they gave us a Second Amendment that if at any point in time that we find that they're out of control, then we have the right to enforce the government. Whoops. Uh-oh. I have a little microphone tipped. Sorry about that. That's why we have that Second Amendment. That's why they put limitations and controls, and they put it on themselves so that they could so that it would keep us free. That's the bottom line, is that we can stay free. And, when Benjamin Franklin, and of course, Nancy Pelosi has even quoted this, and for her own purposes, twisting his original intent, is that when Benjamin Franklin came out of a particular meeting after the Constitution and was asked the question, well, did we have a Constitution? Do we have done this, or do we have a republic? Or he said something about, well, we have a republic if you can keep it. And that's exactly right. So the abuse of power that we're seeing right now in Washington is not any abuse of power from President Trump. He's trying to preserve his branch of the United States government because of the abuses within the House. When a certain party can take control, this is the very thing that the Federalist Papers were talking about, is that if it goes it goes off track, then you can have these abuses, and they can throw people out of office for whatever they want because they don't have to follow the rule of law. And that's the dangers, and that's what we're seeing right now. And then they'll spend millions and millions of tax dollars to support and prop up the very things, these illegal, and I call them illegal, these rogue seditionist acts in order to divide the nation. And then when you can take the mainstream media, and which comes basically from 6 different sources, they all repeat the same things. And if you can control them, then you can control the entire narrative, and you can make things up and make people believe that whole thing. That's the danger of when you have rogue government. And that's why we got to go out there. We've got to throw the bums out. These people don't deserve re-election. And this is the House of Representatives. Guess what? Election's coming in November. And if anybody's in one of those states, you need to rally, you need to do some work and kick every one of those bums out. Some of them were elected on the campaign that we need to impeach President Trump. Well, guess what? You did it wrong, and you did it illegally, and he hasn't done anything illegal. So you're the one that came in with a seditious act to try to remove him. And
Yeah.
so this is where like George Washington was saying, it's for a limited time that you're in there. And if we don't kick you out or recall you before then guess what? People, you need to wake up and elect somebody else. Sorry, Mark, I was kind of ranting.
No, it's okay. It's good. It's all good. Actually, I love talking to you about this subject because you are very learned, a lot more informed than I am on this, and so I appreciate it. Real quickly, the last statement on this inside cover is a brief statement by George Washington. Influence is no government. And I think it reminds me, there's a mini series that I'm watching right now, and I think John and Sandy are watching it too, called Messiah. And there was a point in there when a judge had to make a ruling on whether or not this person stayed in the United States or was extradited back to Israel. And there's a big high official that called the judge while he was trying to make his decision and tried to influence him. And he said, thank you very much. The judge says, thank you very much. I'll take that into account while I'm trying to make my decision. And when he made his decision, he publicly let everybody know that this court will not be influenced by any person at all, no matter how high ranking they are. Even like the president won't influence them. And then he made his decision, which was the opposite of what he was being influenced to do. And I think about that a lot because we make decisions every day, and those of us that are in ministry have to make decisions based on our own integrity. And if we make decisions based on influence, whether it's in or out of God's word, we are wrong. We should never be influenced in making decisions that should be made based on God's word. And so I hope that was understandable. I think it's a lot of times people in ministry allow other people to influence them in their decisions. So,
and that happens. And, you're talking about that judge, a judge coming up with that. You know what my first thought was? That's a pipe dream. But I'm not saying that all judges are bad or evil or anything like that. I'm saying there's a lot of good judges out there. But honestly, there are those that have been put there and they've been manipulated. And I'm going to just talk to the point of our Supreme Court Chief Justice Roberts, when during the time that they had brought Obamacare into the arena, and it had been passed, and then it was challenged, and it went to the Supreme Court, that it looked like it was going to not pass the Supreme Court, and it looked like Judge Roberts was going to vote against Obamacare. And then overnight, all of a sudden, his decision changed, and he comes out and says it's a tax, and so therefore it's not unconstitutional. And completely out of left field. And to this day, people still talk about who influenced him, who told him, what blackmail did they have on him that they said, you better change this. You're the swing vote. We control you. Don't you remember when? We have you in our pocket. We'll expose you. And so what did he do? And he's made some other decisions that have been similar to that. And that's the sad thing, is that if those guys are sit there for life. And the problem is that no one has the intestinal fortitude in our country to say, recall Chief Justice Roberts. Nobody has the guts to say, what about Ruth Ginsburg, who is the walking dead, sitting there on the courts way past her prime, when, someone needs to tell that lady to retire. This is my opinion, but
Yeah.
But, if someone is actually making decisions that are unconstitutional, and if you go back and read some of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's writings, you're like, oh my goodness, going back to the 70s and what she said about about our children and education and sex education, all that. You're like, no way do we need somebody like this that's going to read something into the Constitution that's not there, that's going to affect our children. So anyway, yeah. Influence is very, very powerful, whether it's taken through blackmail or greasing the skids, so to speak, or just someone going up and saying, you're my friend, let's consider this. And
I know, and it happens every single day.
Yeah.
All the time. And that's why we in ministry need to keep our integrity. Let us be influenced by the Word of God and the Word of God alone.
Yes.
To make our decisions. That's very good. Thanks, John. I really appreciate your input. And I am going to do more on the Constitution of the United States and make it a flying series that I want to do. And I'll take it from there and go.
Awesome.
So thanks a million. That one thing that we didn't do last week, but we have since the other two shows, since this is our fourth show now for the Compass of kraM, and we're going to do the Compass of kraM, and John gets to play today. Not had the chance to do that, so. I'm going to get our compass up. Basically, for those of you that don't know what this game is per se, is that very early on in my walk with the Lord, we used to do a lot of evangelism, and in that I had a pastor that would teach us how to talk to somebody about any subject. No matter what subject come up, he would throw a subject out there and we would have to talk about that. We'd have to give the positive, the negative parts of any subject, whether secular or religious or whatever. And that has always stuck with me. I've always kind of prided myself into being able to take any subject and talk about that subject and bring that around to being able to talk about the Lord, and end results of making sure that that person knows the process of being saved and living a lifestyle for the Lord. And so I created this game, and what we're going to do is I'm going to play a video. You're going to see a compass spinning around, and John is going to tell me to stop. When he says stop, I'm going to hit the button, and that button is going to stop on north, south, east, west, or northwest, southwest, southeast, or northeast, on one of 8 different directions. And then we'll go to that direction, and there'll be 4 different topics to choose from, and John's going to choose that topic. In this way, neither one of us, especially me, has any control over what topic we're going to talk about for the rest of the show. So for some reason, I'm getting an echo to me, John. So here we go. You've muted, but I need to have you be able to tell me when to stop. So here we go. I'm doing the compass. Oh, hold up just a second. Yeah, that's all right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do this. Hello. Play.
Ready, stop.
Northeast.
All right.
Let's see. What do we have on Northeast? All right. So we have the Constitution. Prove something to God. In other words, talk about God or talk about something and prove it to God. Prove it to us. Marriage is the number one cause of divorce is another topic. Or ask a question, get an answer to something else. Have you ever talked to somebody and asked them a question and got an answer to something else? We could talk about that. What would you like to talk about, John?
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? You got me on this Constitution mode this morning.
All right, that's fine. That's good. We can keep going on that. You got it. How interesting, boy. The Lord knows how to lead us. That's amazing, man. That's pretty cool if that landed on that. I like it. I love it. All right. So you get to actually lead in this if you'd like to. Your thoughts on Constitution, and we can discuss that. Take it any direction that you'd like to take it.
Well, you know, there's one thing about the Constitution that's very interesting, and we're actually seeing the people of Virginia doing something about that this week, and we've been watching Virginia. We were watching what was going to go on in the rally that happened on Martin Luther King Day, and by the way, what happened in there, there was a lot of concern. There all of the gun owners. Not all, but a lot of gun owners in the state of Virginia gathered on Monday to say, we believe what you're doing, Governor Northam, and state and House legislators, what you're doing is unconstitutional. And you're writing laws to limit our ability to own firearms. You want us to register, which register our guns. Register that we have guns. You want us to take away our private gun ranges. You're wanting to do all these different things. So the people of Virginia said, no, we're not going to do it. And rallying with the people of Virginia were people from all over the United States, seeing that this is a landmark case. This is very important. You know, when you were just talking about earlier, is that written into the Constitution is our ability to redress our grievances. And that's what they were doing in Virginia. They gathered together and said, look, what you're doing is unconstitutional. You cannot limit us. In fact, if you go back and you look at the original, was it the Gadsden flag or... No. It was the flag that says, come and take it. And on it is a cannon. And back in the Revolutionary War, this was one of the big deals. The whole reason that Paul Revere was riding on that midnight ride was saying that the redcoats are coming, is because they were not coming to say, hey, we're going to come gather your taxes. We're going to increase taxes. No, what they were saying is that we're coming door to door to take your guns because you're a threat to the empire. And I say the empire because that's what it is. It was an evil empire of the king. It was tyranny, and he was warning people to hide. There it is, hide their guns. But the point of the matter is the cannon was meant for military operations. That was the weapon to fight against the weapons of the British. The point is that those were privately held. And the thing is what's been made so big is that all these AR-15s, these military looking weapons, these need to be taken out of the hands of the people because they're scary. Well, the people of the United States don't even have the ability to even own a lot of the equipment that the U.S. military has. We cannot even fight against the U.S. military. We have guns, and some of those guns, unless you get a special permit, we can't even have a machine gun. We can only have semi-automatic weapons, so we can't even match the military. But in fact, it is the military that becomes the arm of an abusive and tyrannical government that takes away our rights. The concern is that in Virginia, that there would be some type of false flag event, and they would bring in the state National Guard. They would bring in the state police. They bring in UN forces even if this event went south, it went rogue, and it became an ugly event, and people started to die, then they would come in and execute martial law, and it didn't happen. We were praying, people were praying that it would become a peaceful event. They could redress their grievances. Point of the fact is Governor Northam said, I'm not changing anything. I'm not going to change it. Well, guess what? Then they can recall those elections. They can recall the governor. They can recall those representatives because they're no longer representing them. They are doing unconstitutional things. They don't even have to have safe cities and safe counties like they've had to do, where the sheriff says, well, this is a safe county, you can own guns, and if I have to, I'll deputize everybody so that you'll have to have a gun because you've been deputized. They shouldn't even have to do that, because the point is in the Constitution that if a law is passed by its sheer nature is contrary to these articles in the Constitution, they are in fact illegal and do not have to be followed. But the sad thing is that we have to fight for those rights, and we may even have to take it to the streets in order to enforce those rights, because if it's an unlawful law, then we have the right to take it. The fact that they would try to enforce unlawful laws. In fact, I heard one guy that was a highway patrol from Virginia got on the Alex Jones show and said, look, it's unlawful. What they're doing is unlawful. But guess what? If the governor says that I have to do a roadblock and somebody has a gun, I'm going to take your gun. And he said, and I'm going to send you in jail because it becomes a felony and you're going to be arrested. Now, people, you need to wake up and realize this is what I'm going to do, because that's what I'm going to be required to do. The fact that he would even say that. Now, was he for the law? No, he was anti that law, but he's not going to lose his job. He's not going to stand on behalf of the Constitution. He's not going to defy an illegal order. And that's sad. And that is a huge risk. The point that law enforcers will actually speak against the Constitution and not enforce the Constitution over these illegal laws is a sad reality of today.
Let me ask you a quick question. And I know in my question's already the answer, but isn't it even more sad that these people trying to change this or add these things in there should already know that that's against the law to try to change this or to try to add to it, trying to make you register, trying to, add all these different things and even make them law when it's against the law to do that based on the Constitution in the first place. Isn't it sad that these people, they already know it, but yet they're pushing to do it? They already know that. You don't have to walk in there and tell them it's against the law. They know it's against the law. But if they can get somebody in authority like the governor or whoever to ratify to do something different, then they're going to push it to try to get that done. But what's wrong in my eyes is the fact that they already know it.
Yeah, I agree.
What a waste of time to have to go in there and say, this is against the law that you're trying to do this. What a waste of time.
Yeah. Well, and I really believe that Virginia was a test case. And I think that, They're still going to push it. They're going to see how far will the people of Virginia allow this to continue. Because, they set up fences and all that sort of thing there in Virginia to corral and contain the people. And they had these no gun zone, no gun zones where they could keep people away from the government buildings and that type of thing. That in itself is a violation of the Second Amendment. The people, as one person had said, gun owners are, I just missed the quote, but basically is that people that own guns are a polite people. And that's really what was shown in Virginia is that, if somebody's got a gun, you're going to be nice to them. And if I've got a gun, I'm going to respect the power of that gun. So that therefore, I'm going to be polite because I don't want to have to use it. I only have it just in that one small instant case that if I have to have it, if I need it, it's there and I've got the ability to use it. But Kamala Harris, who was running for president, had come out and said, look, if the laws are not passed to take away gun rights, then in 30 days, when I'm president, then I am going to do it by executive order. That's really scary to think that it's gone that far. But it's also really comes back to another theme is they're pulling upon a higher power, so to speak, which is the UN ban on guns, which has not been adopted by the United States, but many countries within the United Nations have adopted their ban on guns. And they want to appeal to that, saying that's what a sane country, a civilized country will ban weapons. And of course, that's a violation of the Second Amendment. But, let's take it to the next step, because if we want to tie it in, is that in one way to look at the scriptures and you look at even the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, that is the constitution of the kingdom that we're part of. And that within it are the very parameters that the Father gives us of how he wants his kingdom to run and how his people to live and to act. And so therefore, what in many Christian circles, what is the most rejected part of Scripture, unless you want to look at it as a historical point of view? And that is the first 5 books of the Bible, from which the origins come from, the very, very parameters by which God says, in here are the essence of life. In here is for where life flows from my throne, and my heart. And of course, Yeshua says, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. From there, he's given us the very framework by which his kingdom operates. And that he is able, it is impossible for him to lie. So he doesn't go back on his word. He doesn't change his word. He doesn't delete things from his word, and he doesn't add to it, because in and of itself, it's perfect. And we've done the same thing, right? We've in many congregations, we pick and choose what we want to follow.
Well, but also those first 5 books contain the law. And we, even in our own present day, forget the laws of God, but the laws of the land, we want to forget those laws. I mean, isn't the basic law of our land our Constitution? And then everything else kind of builds off of that. Whereas you're talking about the first 5 books of the Bible, which contains the law of the land of Israel, the law that we should base our life laws about, and everybody wants to do away with those.
Yeah.
So it's not so much, it's not even so much the law as it is that we want to govern ourselves in both ways, in our religious aspect and in our physical country land aspect where we're at. We want to be in power to which we should anyway, but we want to be in power to make up our own laws, and everybody else recognize individual laws. I don't know how to say it any better, but it's a situation where each one of us individually wants to be our own God and our own law, and it's the rule of the world as it really has always been. It's not any different today than it ever has been before. But I mean, we are talking about how we want to do away. I don't think anybody really literally says the words, I want to do away with the Constitution. I just want to rearrange it the way I want it. And everybody else needs to go by that.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
It's that whole point of relativism. It's the whole point of how can that be relevant to us today? That Constitution, it's over 200 years old. So how can that be relevant? I mean, after all, look at what's happening right now with the whole impeachment fiasco. It's political drama, and they're doing it simply. They know they don't even have a case. They're trying to bring in witnesses because they had no witnesses in the House. And so now they're upset that they can't bring in new evidence in a trial. I mean, that's not how even the court systems work. Everything has to be presented up front. Then you bring it to the trial, and then the trial
both sides need to know about it.
Yeah.
You can't bring something in the other side didn't previously know about it.
Yes.
The whole thing, it has to be transparent. No matter what, and it's not.
Yeah, the whole point of that General Flynn's constitutional rights are being violated is because the FBI lied, and now his new attorney Sidney Powell is saying, no, guess what? General Flynn is going to reverse his guilty plea because he wasn't guilty.
Yeah.
But the reason he said he was guilty is because they said, if you don't give us a guilty plea, then we're going after your son. And he'd already lost his house. He'd already, in order to pay for his legal bills, it's in the millions of dollars to defend himself on something the FBI lied about, said, you lied on that. And then it's come out and said, no, he never lied. And this is the whole problem. The whole issue with the Constitution is that it's been completely violated. And we do the same thing within scriptures itself, is that we make it, we are our own God. So let's pick and choose what we want to follow, how we want to handle it, and just say, well, that other part's just not relevant today. Well, either it is or it isn't. And woe to the person who would throw the book out.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't alive when the Constitution was made. I became alive. And same thing with the laws of God. I mean, if I wanted to battle this whole subject here, is that I mean, the laws of God were instituted, up on some mountain, 5,000 years ago, give or take. And the Constitution was, made 100 years ago, give or take, and 200, 300, 400 years ago, give or take, somewhere around in there. And I wasn't alive then. So, I'm not so sure that I should have to go by that. I'm alive today, and so can't we make it all apply for today?
Well, that's what the leftists want to do, and honestly, and that's
do you hear the insaneness of that?
Yeah, because the point is that since history repeats itself, oh my goodness, why do we have to go back through the mistakes of the past that brought about that brought about a revolutionary war, that brought about a civil war, that brought about the First and Second World Wars, all of those different things. So anyway, those are just
Why?
yeah. Why do you want to do that?
Why? I want to know why is it that out of 32 different categories that could have been picked from today, the Constitution came up number one.
You know
why that? I love it. That was so good. That was a very good part. I love it. John, I love you with a passion, man. I really do. Your wife's okay, but I really like you.
Well, I love you too, Mark. Hey, you know what? It's not that I don't have a couple opinions on things. So,
well, no, but the incredible thing is each one of us have our own areas that we stay informed on and we look into because that's our passion. That's what we're interested in. I mean, the news is not one of my passions. I try to stay as informed as I can, but mostly I just wait to hear what you have to say about the news, and then I get my news sources. See, so I go to MessianicLambNetwork.com. As a matter of fact, you might even see the MessianicLambNetwork.com. And if you'll go to a place called Four Corners News, you will get the updated news right on the homepage. As a matter of fact, there are several places that you can see there with different news segments. But all right, we gotta go. The clock says that we got to go. Not really. I mean, it's just like I got a doctor's appointment here. I got to get ready for that. So, got to go. The doctor's appointment is here, and so.
Well, thanks, Mark, for letting me be part of.
I love it.
The company's kraM today.
I love it. And we will have different guests from time to time, and. Put all this together, and I appreciate your playing the game with me and battling some fun things around our heads and letting them come out of our mouth.
Yeah,
that's what I like to do. So, all right. Well, John Craig, what shows are you on? Let's start with the beginning of the week. You are on Monday War Room Prayers.
Monday War Room.
You're on Monday Let Us Reason Together. Then you're on Walking in Spirit and Truth.
On Tuesday, 8 Central.
And then that's, you do a lot of Four Corners News, I guess. But I don't know. What else are you on?
Every once in a while, I might pop up on the second chapter.
The second chapter of Acts?
No, the second chapter. No, I'm sorry. The next chapter. Sorry. Sandy wasn't here to correct me on that.
Is this a new show that we have going here that nobody has told me about? The second chapter of Acts. All right. Well, hey, maybe that's a good idea. That was prophetic, brother.
Yeah.
That might have been just prophetic. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's good. And pop in here from time to time. All right. So that's good. And you have some congregation down in Mexico or something that you.
Well, we're. Well, I was going to say we're close. We're in Texas. We're in Texas, but we're in. It's right next to Mexico.
What's that?
It's right next to Mexico, but
okay, yeah, all right.
We're like way in the northern part of the state of Texas. So, like where we are we're as far north from the border as Oklahoma City is. I mean, we're a long ways away, but
so you'd have to go over to Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
But yeah, no, Sandy and I pastor a congregation called Life of Worship here in Amarillo. So And
And
we're excited.
are you having a guest this weekend?
We are having Dr. Halissa Elwine, and I'm really excited about her being here because she is always bringing some mind blowing just stuff that says, I never thought of it that way. And it makes us dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And it is just awesome.
I love it. Okay. Well, there you go. So John's busy. Basically is what he's trying to say. When Sandy allows him to do things, then he's busy. And no, I don't think so. I don't think that has anything to do with it. But anyway, all right. I'm just trying to get out of here and rambling now. Anyway, go to the Messianic Lamb Network website, which is messianiclambnetwork.com, and you'll find all kinds of wonderful, wonderful things there. Other than that, bye, Sandy.
Bye.
Bye, Aunt Mariah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, John.
Okay.
We'll see you on another show, brother. Thanks for your input. This was fun. I appreciate it. All right. We'll talk soon. Ta-ta.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.